Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I have for you my final layout process video for the month of June, and I was inspired by the Counterfeit Kit challenge to tell a story about myself. And since the inspirational post came from somebody talking about her own birthday, I decided to grab these photos from my birthday, which happened last month, and I'm going to use those to tell a little bit of what life is like right now for me. I am going to be using my Counterfeit Kit for this month, so this will be my final layout. This kit was a big one for me this month, and I did not get through it all, and that's okay because I can always break up the kit and put pieces away again. So I'm going to pull out anything that I think might fit with this layout that I want to tell, knowing that they were birthday photos. And I'm pretty sure I want to use that alpha sheet for my title, which is mostly going to be about my age. So I did put away a sheet because I wanted to save that for another layout, even though I really liked it better than the sheet that I kept. So I've got my photos, and these are two 3x4 photos, and I cut them apart. And I want to, what am I doing? Okay, I am creating the base of my background first. I have that kind of watercolor piece that I'm going to pair up with this paper lantern piece, which seems celebratory to me, so I wanted to put those two together. And my favorite colors are in the blue range, so I enjoyed using that blue watercolor, which reminds me I did not add that to my journaling, so I should go back and pop that little piece of info into my journaling. That's part of the reason why I chose that blue watercolor, because those are two of my favorite things right now. And that's what my journaling is going to be all about, kind of what's going on in my head these days. Okay, so now I've got this black piece of paper, which actually has some color tones to it that are a little hard to see on camera, but I liked the way those color tones played off the black and picked up the colors in the background of my layout. And I'm going to use that to map my photos. And now I'm just going through and finding bits and pieces of leftover patterns I had from working with the month that I can use to add layers and details to this layout. So right now I'm going to add some border strips across where those two pattern papers meet. And I really like that camera print since it is totally about me taking selfies, and so the motif works really well there. All right, as I'm thinking about other layers that I want to add, I step aside because I'm not sure yet, and I move on to my title, which my kit is a little bit large here, so it's hard for me to sort through all those pieces. So yes, I pull out the number 4 and the number 7 from that kind of die cut pop apart sheet, and that was from Die Cuts with a View. It's an older product. I don't know if you can still find that. And then I start layering up bits and pieces because I want to have my photos in place before I put my title in place, and I need to get everything ready to go. So I pull out that large floral die cut, which is not something I would ever normally use. And so sometimes I like to add things to my counterfeit kits, which is a DIY kit build adventure if you don't know about counterfeit kits. And so I added those pieces to this kit to challenge myself to use them, and I thought they worked really well on this layout because I do love flowers in my garden, and while this style of flower is not quite what I typically go for scrapbook wise, I thought I could make it work and have fun with it. So I bordered myself with those flowers. And now I'm looking for bits to add down to the bottom that is going to contain my journaling, and that kind of balances off the big heavy stuff at the top with a little bit of stuff down at the bottom. And as I'm indecisive, I once again shift gears and I am working on my title again. So because those die cut pieces were pop aparts, they do have the little nubbies that hold them into the carrier sheet, and so I always sand those off. And then this is my kitty, Jamie. He likes to work with me, but he was a little fussy. So I finally got him to settle down, and he decided to join me just for a moment. As soon as he got settled down and I started getting back to work, he's going to change his mind here and take off again. So I am popping up my title numbers there on with these micro foam dots that I will leave links below. And I found those tiny foam dots actually quite useful. I do like my tiny fine pointed tweezers in order to work with them, because otherwise they just kind of stick together if I'm trying to pull them apart with my fingers. But I've actually found them quite helpful in several areas of crafting, so I'm glad that I have those in my stash. Okay, also in my kit this month was lots of different washi tape. Most of it was this teeny tiny rolls, very narrow strips of washi tape, but I did have this Boulder black and gold butterfly. So I'm going to add bits and pieces of washi tape here and there. And I'm layering up the narrow strips with the Boulder strips. And when I work on my embellishments, I do tend to work in kind of clusters of 3. This one is a little bit more spread out than typical for me, but I will add some more of that butterfly washi tape down below to add a 3rd zone of that cluster. And then I'm adding tiny border strips of washi tape to my border layers there. And then I turned to my journaling tag, and I chose one that had good color balance. It brings in the darker tones from up top and pulls those darker tones down to the bottom a bit. And I'm going to use washi tape here as a replacement for fibers, because I don't have any twine or anything in this kit. And this is a newer technique to me. I've just started doing this, and I actually find it kind of fun. So that washi tape will stick and stay in place and act as a little burst of fibery type embellishment to the top of my tag. And then I'm finding little bits and pieces to surround my tag and kind of emphasize where my journaling is going to go. And here's where I finally add in some more of that butterfly washi, or I guess not yet, because I'm still indecisive. You'll see me pull things and set them aside as I work on my process. Okay, so I wanted to add some icons to this layout that represent things in my life right now. So I added that bird icon, and I will come back and add a little bit more bird. And then I've got gold going at the top of my layout with the title and the washi tape, so I wanted to add some more gold into the bottom of the layout, and I do that with a little border strip of pink and gold hearts, as well as I'm going to get that butterfly washi tape in there finally. So I'm just fiddling with the placement of these things so that stuff tucks together and overlaps, and I do appreciate getting things touching and overlapping as my clusters build up together. So what am I doing now? I am looking for, I have these little word strips that I think would be fun, and then I find one that says special day that I think would add a little bit of extra to this layout, and because it matches the color of the tag, I think I want to put it at the top again to balance bits and pieces from the top of the layout down to the bottom of the layout. And then I had these little arrow pieces with hearts on them, but the arrows were pointing the wrong way, so I pulled out that heart gold strip again, and I am now creating kind of my own little arrow border pieces, banner pieces, I'm not sure quite what to call them. And then I fuss around a lot with where I want them to be. Do I want to emphasize my whole title? Do I want to emphasize just my age in the title? And I get to fussing, and I'm still not quite sure. So here I decide that they would read a little bit better if they had a little bit more dimension to them to help emphasize them, because they were blending into the background a little too much. Okay, so I set those aside, still thinking about if that's going to work or not, and then I pull out these hummingbird stickers, and while the style of this sticker really doesn't match what I've got going on in this page, I'm going to use them anyway. It's my scrapbook page. I can break whatever rules I want to break because I love hummingbirds, and I've had these stickers for quite a while, and I had yet to use them because the style is so different than a lot of stuff I work with. I was having a hard time figuring out how to use them. But since it goes along motif and theme-wise with my layout here, in terms of I'm going to journal about how much I love watching the birds in my backyard. And so I'm putting them on. And I did pop up one of the hummingbird's wings a little bit with that microfoam dots, and then I finish up my title up there with those little arrows that I created. And then I'm throwing on a few bits and pieces of final sprinkles of embellishment with these enamel dots here. And I believe those enamel dots in particular were from the Chamel, one of the Chamel collections, and they may still be available. And then I have some other enamel dots here, and if I can remember the company, I will link those down below. Those should be current on the market, so they are still available. And I like them because they're a solid white, but they have some sparkle in them. I think that's actually a multi-pack with solid white and sparkle white, so they were fun. All right, so I really like to add borders, just this double pin line border that I put all around my layouts, and that usually helps finish off stuff for me as it kind of holds everything in. And so that's one of the final touches that I really like to do. And then I've got all my journaling in, except for that bit about blue and watercolor that I mentioned earlier. And that finishes off my layout for this time. So let's take a look at some of these close-up photos. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you found anything you enjoyed about it, anything helpful, please do give it a like, because that does help my channel with the whole YouTube algorithm thing. I will actually be back tomorrow with my very first post as a master forger for the Counterfeit Kit challenge. And I will leave you plenty of links on how our challenge works in case you want to give this kit building challenge a try. I will see you next time.